name is Kari, and I entered the Catalyst program of the Meier Clinic back in June of 2013. I found myself in a situation where I needed to deal with my chronic depression and anxiety. I had tried to explain it away by genetics and personality, but it was starting to manifest in obsessive-compulsive behaviors and insomnia. My house was becoming very stressful for me, and my marriage was strained. I didn't know what was wrong with me, and my husband couldn't understand me. So it became a crisis, and I decided I needed to leave the family to get help. And I left my 4 children and my husband, who happens to be a pastor. I'm blessed that we had a great team of people to surround us during those dark days before I went to the Meier Clinic. They helped us navigate what we should do. I had heard about the Meier Clinic through a friend who had gone several years before to help him with his bipolar disorder. So I knew of the program, but I didn't know if it was something that I needed. Someone did advise me that if I didn't deal seriously with my depression, that I might hit a burnout that I might not recover from in ministry. So I had no energy to research it. I didn't have any energy to fight back about the suggestion to go. So numbly, I agreed to it, and that's how I arrived at the Meier Clinic on June 5th. The big question was, in my mind, but probably more so in my husband's mind, is this going to work? Will the 3 weeks of me being away be worth the time, money, and energy that it was going to take? And looking back, I know that really was answered my first day there. They whisked me away to group therapy, and I was confronted with this truth, that it was up to me if it was going to work. It was my responsibility, nobody else's. And so with that, with God's help, it was time for me to dig down deep and talk about things that I had never talked about, and to think about things I'd never thought about, and to ask questions that I'd never asked before. So during those 3 weeks of teaching and intense group therapy and individual therapy, I began to find myself. I began to see that neediness is a beautiful thing. I got to see that it's important to know and to be known, the importance of boundaries, and how I needed to grow up in some of my faulty adolescent thinking. And really it was in group therapy where we shared our pains and hurts together. It didn't matter that I was a pastor's wife dealing with depression, and I was next to a mother who is dealing with alcoholism, or a young man who deals with severe anxiety problems, or even a missionary who was there who was on the brink of burnout. Once we started sharing our stories and our hearts, the differences melted away, and we got to journey together into confession and repentance and forgiveness, and it was a beautiful transformation that God had ordained, and I'm so thankful for it. It really felt like the church. So it's the therapist that really had the skill and the professionalism, the heart to draw me, nudge me gently into places that I needed to go. And I could never be more grateful for their input into my life. During one session, somebody asked one of the therapists, "So is this stuff really going to work? How long is it going to take for me to change and for this stuff to take hold in my life?" And she said, "If you keep practicing these things we've taught you, that you've practiced here, then in 6 months, you'll start feeling a little different. But if you continue to do that, then in 2 years, you're going to feel the most you-ful that you've ever felt. And I can say that I feel the most Kari-ful than I've ever felt. I am practicing. It takes practice with God's hand to continue this transformation. Practicing having hard conversations with my husband. Practicing boundaries with my children and with church involvement. Practicing mindfulness with my own self-talk. And saying yes to myself and to what God has brought before me in terms of expressing myself through my dreadlocks, or writing poetry that I put on a blog, and performing spoken word at a local coffee shop. Those are all things that I would never have been able to do before the Catalyst program. I want to say thank you. Thank you to the Meier Clinic for the opportunity. I want to say thank you to my friends, my family, and my church for supporting our whole family during that transition. And I, without a hesitation, recommend the Catalyst program.
For more information about Catalyst, or for a personal assessment to determine if the program is a good fit for you or a loved one, please call us at 1-888-7-CLINIC or visit us at meierclinics.org.